Welcome back to Winners and Losers, the show that looks at the highs and the lows around world football. This weekend, Christopher Hamill joins me in the studio today, and we start with the talking point. It was submitted by Real FTF. It's Chelsea.
Ooh, do we finally have a title race on our hands, Joseph? Liverpool 42 points, Manchester City 41 with the same games played now, and Liverpool have actually conceded fewer goals.
Ooh.
Spooky. Although, I suppose City do have to host Liverpool at their gaff, and they've already played at Anfield, so big positive for them in that regard. Anyway, let's get into the game because Chelsea beat Manchester City 2-0 at Stamford Bridge to hand the champions their first league loss of the season. In fact, City hadn't lost in 22 games prior to this, stretching back to last April. And after Liverpool's win at Bournemouth, it also means that City are off top spot for the first time since September.
Yeah, they've been in beast mode though, haven't they? Just incredible form. But you have to take your hats off to Liverpool for even being able to keep pace.
For maintaining pace, yeah. Because I didn't quite realise they were that close. They were in touching distance. They've snuck up on Pep Guardiola's men, haven't they? And to begin with, it looked like they were going to continue in beast mode. City dominated the first half possession-wise and territory-wise, really pressing as a unit, putting Chelsea under all sorts of pressure. But it was sort of Chelsea's distribution from the back, I guess, that dug them out of this whole second half. And Kante, the man who's been much, I suppose he's not been much maligned. Sarri's been maligned for moving him forward, for stripping us of his defensive performances that we've become accustomed to seeing. He opened the scoring on 45 minutes, and that was Chelsea's first attempt in the match. It's the longest the Blues fans have had to wait for a shot in a league game at Stamford Bridge since 2006-07. That's how dominant City were. They were stringing it round, weren't they? Leroy Sané causing all sorts of havoc, Raheem Sterling getting in some really good positions, just the usual suspects. The Frenchman now has 2 goals and 2 assists this season, matching his output for the 2 previous campaigns. So he's slowly getting there output-wise. But Maurizio Sarri, still not happy with consistency and probably that first half. Let's see what he has to say.
A very good level of determination, the right level of aggressivity. But then during the season you have to play also with a small team. And so we need continuity in motivations, we need continuity in determinations. Otherwise we can win this kind of match and then we can lose point in other match.
As you touched on there, Manchester City obviously completely dominant first half, but kind of paid for missing those chances pretty heavily in the second. Cesar Azpilicueta in this game was a monster. 18 combined tackles and interceptions.
That's crazy.
That is freaky.
I've never seen numbers like that before.
Yeah. I've never seen numbers like that, seriously, defensive output-wise. It makes players like Marcos Alonso, who I think on the day put up 8 tackles and interceptions, which is pretty good, look small time in comparison, doesn't it? Also, let's touch on Eden Hazard, because yet another game he failed to find the net, but his creative output is really strong. He now has 8 assists this season. That's already double his tally for last year. Conversely, you look at players like David Silva on Manchester City's side, who is usually at the hub of everything good going forward. He completed just 24 passes on the day. That's really low for a player like David Silva.
Odd to see him come off as well after 65 minutes.
Yeah, really very odd. I think that summarises how good Chelsea's midfield and defensive display was on the day. Guardiola kind of insisted that his side were excellent for maybe other than 5 or 10 minute spells, and I think I kind of agree. I think City would have been worth a point, especially in the first half. Just on the first half, probably worth 3.
But there's not many defences that can really distribute whilst under pressure in the same way that Chelsea can, and for all David Luiz's downsides, that ball for the opener, that raking sort of 40-yard pass to Pedro, great touch from Pedro, another switch to Willian. It was almost like watching Pep's Bayern Munich, but absolutely outstanding he was from the back.
It was outstanding. David Luiz was great. The whole back line for Maurizio Sarri performed perfectly. There was no room for error. I think in the first half they gave up a couple of chances. One really big one, I remember Leroy Sané should have hit first time on the 6-yard
Yeah, and
box.
Sterling with his left
And he
foot
kind of
was just behind him a little bit.
Couldn't get a shot off. But other than that, they were watertight at the back.
Indeed, Joseph, but we weren't talking about the result or the performance of Sarri's men in the second half for very long, were we? Because the cameras at Stamford Bridge caught what appeared to be disgusting racist abuse levelled at Raheem Sterling, and he was a consummate professional about it, sort of laughed it off even, not that he should have to be subject to that awful behaviour within his profession, and in an Instagram post following the game highlighted the endemic treatment that young black players seem to face in the press in comparison to their young white counterparts, and there's just no place for it in football. There's no place for these gentlemen who seem to think it's still the 1980s where racism and violence is rife and acceptable in the stands of the English game. And Chelsea might be our talking point, they might be our first winners, but you guys are definitely our losers, categorically. Let's move on, don't want to waste any more oxygen on these people. Our first winners are West Ham, and this comes from Mitchell Tidball, and what a time to be alive. West Ham have won 3 on the bounce.
I know, for the first time in 2 years, a run stretching back to December 2016, and they got that record after a 3-2 victory at home over a struggling Crystal Palace side, and it was a pretty tight affair. Obviously, James McArthur nudging Palace ahead, but XG actually finished the game 1.6 to 0.9, so West Ham probably deserved of it, but they were thankful to 2 moments of brilliance in this game. One from the occasional worldie king himself, Robert Snodgrass, a really nice finish, a bit of an odd finish, actually, wasn't it?
But like a chipping wedge.
Chicken dipper on it. And then the second, a classic Javier Hernandez poacher's goal that I think, personally, Wayne Hennessy probably should do a little bit better with. Maybe palm it further wide or even around the post, because you just can't palm it back into the 6-yard area when there's players like
Only
Javier
Chicharito
Hernandez.
was alive though, wasn't he? Everyone else was miles off.
I mean, the Palace defence is absolutely sleeping. If I was Roy Hodgson, I would be fuming with them. And then finally, Felipe Anderson, what a player, what a signing he's turned out to be. We called it on Football Daily. We said this is going to be one of the signings of the season. It's turned out to be just that. He's now scored 5 in his last 6, and this was probably his best of the season. Absolute peach into the top bins, curler from the edge of the area. Lovely to see.
Oh, reminiscent of Stuart Downing coming in off that left wing.
I mean, that's a bloody compliment.
Champagne
to
Downing, isn't it?
Absolute compliment to Downing. Although, as good as he was, man of the match still went to the occasional worldie, Robert Snodgrass, in this game. Alongside his goal, that was his only shot actually, but he had 3 dribbles, 3 tackles and an interception, Robert Snodgrass. So pretty interesting to see Pellegrini utilising him from that right-hand side and offering nice balance with Felipe Anderson, who's in great form.
I believe that was Snodgrass's first Premier League goal for West Ham.
Crazy. That's insane if that's true, because what?
He went to Villa for a bit, didn't he, on
But he
loan,
has been
out in
there
the wilderness.
so long.
I do like him, Robert Snodgrass, and yes, West Ham been very good this season at creating high-quality chances, and it's largely thanks to those 2 on either side. However, they have, been a little bit more solid at the back recently, largely thanks to Balbuena and Diop, who are forming a commanding partnership in defence for the Hammers, with a combined 6 tackles, 6 aerial duels won in this game, 8 interceptions and 11 clearances to boot. But back to Palace's underlying numbers, because they've scored just 13 goals, Joseph. Clang. Only Huddersfield are worse in that regard.
By a striker.
It's actually 5.5 below their expected goals, so they've been a little bit unfortunate in that regard. Benteke still can't really score.
Couldn't hit a barn door.
Maybe with a banjo. Maybe Zaha has been a little bit unfortunate as well, seeing a couple come back off the crossbar. Andros Townsend cracking him in from left, right and centre at current though, so maybe that balances it out somewhat. However, as a result, they would have been almost 7 points better off. Only Southampton, I believe, according to expected goals, are more unfortunate than Crystal Palace in the Premier League at the start of this season. But we've got to take that with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, because 2 teams that have got strikers. I mean, Danny Ings, we rate Danny Ings, but
Yeah, he's sort of flying the flag by himself for Southampton this season, isn't he? But Crystal Palace don't really have a traditional number 9, I suppose. MacArthur actually chipping in with an awful lot of goals recently. And never been that prolific over the course of his career. So even these numbers might be a little bit unsustainable if they don't add to their ranks. Of course, they bought Sorloth. He's not really banged. Max Meyer not really contributing as much as they'd like, I suppose, at this point, considering he's on, what, £100,000 a week.
Great assist of the weekend, though.
But yeah, really good whippage for that goal. Anyway, they have also conceded 23. However, their goal difference might be a little bit, again, misleading because they're averaging a decent amount of shots, 12.6, and they're only conceding 12.8 against. So their defence is sort of putting in a shift and seeing nothing for their efforts up front, not really materialising for them in attack. Despite Wilf Zaha trying his best, he's actually averaging the same amount of shots last season on 2.2. His dribbles have dropped from 4.1 to 2.6, which is still the most in the league, but of course people are a little bit more attuned maybe to what he wants to do, and if he's taking that central role, he has less room to manoeuvre in, doesn't he? He's not really dominating down the wings as much this campaign. But he's not had a goal or an assist since the 1st of October. Now, Palace host Leicester next week, and West Ham look to win 4 in a row for the first time since 2014 when they travel to Fulham. So a significantly easier tie for West Ham. But Crystal Palace sort it out. West Ham winners.
Our first loser was submitted by Sander YR1, and it's Bournemouth, Hamill.
Yeah, the Cherries were bloody squished, Joseph, losing 4-0 at home to Liverpool, bringing them to 5 losses in their last 6 Premier League matches after such a promising start for Eddie Howe's men. Although, I mean, they were missing talisman Callum Wilson with a hamstring injury and subsequently couldn't really generate many quality chances. They had 8 shots all game, only 2 coming from inside the box. Liverpool really limiting them in terms of launching those counter-attacks that have become the hallmarks of Eddie Howe's side at the start of this campaign, really pressing them into submission here. In fact, according to XG, the average likelihood of any of Bournemouth shots turning into a goal was a measly 4%.
Jeez.
Liverpool were nearly at 18%, which just shows you that Alisson, really, when he was facing those shots, had an easy day. Mo Salah bagged the hat-trick. That was his second for Liverpool. And the other goal was an OG from Steve Cook, came in off his Achilles.
Yeah.
What a bloody finish that was, Cookie.
Ironic, isn't it? Because he tried to take Mohamed Salah's Achilles with him.
I think a little bit of karma there for raking down Mo Salah's leg for one of the goals and trying to poleaxe him for the next. He was left eating grass, wasn't he? Still mooing, apparently, rumour has it. Now, that's Bournemouth's 8th own goal since 2015, more than any other Premier League side. I suppose they've balanced that out this campaign by getting a shed load of penalties, but a little bit unfortunate on the defensive end. Now, the Cherries consistently struggle against top teams. Since the start of 17-18, Bournemouth have lost 15 times in 17 games against the likes of Manchester City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Tottenham and Manchester United. So a little bit unsurprising at the moment they're on such a poor run, having played United, City and Arsenal and Liverpool, in the last 6 games. That's a tough run of fixtures, isn't it, for any side? And it's seen their average points haul at the start of this campaign fall from 2 per game to 0.5, and from 1.9 goals scored per game to 1, and from 1.2 conceded per match to 2.3.
Numbers.
So, you know, that makes sense though.
Drink 'em in.
Enjoy. And to make matters worse, they now face away trips to Wolves, Tottenham and Manchester United in December, and Lewis Cook, the young promising English midfielder, has been ruled out for 6 to 9 months with an ACL rupture. So good luck to him in his recovery, and good luck to Bournemouth in the upcoming months. Jesus.
Yeah, but we have to touch on Liverpool because this was a crushing win and they went top following Manchester City's later loss to Chelsea. They've actually taken 42 points from 16 games. That's their best ever top flight tally. I think they've taken 45 from a possible last 51, which is just insane when you think about it. Jurgen Klopp is absolutely flying. They're unbeaten in 17 league games. And on the day, it was the Egyptian prince, wasn't it, Mo Salah, who was the star. Hat-trick on the day, bringing him to 42 league goals since the start of last season. That's only bettered by one player in Europe. It's the 5th best player in the world. It's Lionel Messi, who I believe we'll probably talk about on ERU today.
Most definitely.
Because he popped in too well.
I mean, that second free kick is absolutely sickening. What I do want to say about Mo Salah is, does anyone know why he's going with the whole no celebration?
I don't know.
He looked absolutely miserable. Just a 1,000-yard stare at the dugout after every goal. I'm not sure if it's because...
Maybe we're reading into it too much.
He's been
just bored of scoring.
rotated a little bit, and by rotated, I mean probably dropped 2 games.
I think he's just bored of scoring. But he was given man of the match in this game, but a very nice gesture, wasn't it? It's a classic Mo Salah nice human gesture to hand it off instead to James Milner, who got his 500th Premier League appearance on the weekend against Bournemouth. Now, Liverpool do have a tough December. It's going to be a real test of their mettle. I think they go away to Napoli, then they've got United at home, then they go to Wolves and Arsenal, all in December. It's going to be a tough run for Jurgen Klopp, but if he can see it out, then there are arguments to be made. They should be the favourites for the league title going into January.
Origi's going to get a hat-trick against United.
Probably. It wouldn't surprise anyone, would it? But congratulations, Jurgen Klopp and Mo Salah. Our first winners. Bournemouth, sorry, are losers, aren't they? Because we needed to crowbar Liverpool.
Finally, it's happened. Manchester United have been included in our winners, Joseph. I know you've been waiting quite some time for this. It comes from Kieran Hughes, who is seemingly as ecstatic as you are.
Yeah, I just want to say a big thank you to Fulham for being utter turd and allowing us to turn you over with consummate ease. 4 games without a win going into this one, and then a 4-1 battering of the Cottagers. Fulham had lost 21 of their last 23 away matches at Manchester United in all competitions, and on the day, they were disastrous. They were way too deep, couldn't get out. United absolutely, they played perfectly into Manchester United hands, and United dominated the match. 63% possession, 20 shots and 11 shots on target. The first goal came from Ashley Young. Actually a nice finish, cut inside, got a little bit lucky with the dribble, but a great
He's meant to put it through the legs though, isn't he?
Yeah, he has. He's kind of bumbled his way through the legs though. It's not a clean nutmeg, shall we say. Ending a run of 39 games without a goal.
Do you know,
but a good one nonetheless.
He still has more goals in the Premier League than Chicharito.
Does he? That's a crazy statistic. Although you have to think that Chicharito did spend a couple of seasons abroad.
Yeah, Ashley Young's been here forever.
Yeah, Ashley Young has been here forever. And obviously, Romelu Lukaku, he's finally back on the score sheet.
Yes, well big Rom.
Big Rom, ending a run of 997 minutes.
Took his boot cuts
without
off.
netting at Old Trafford. Finally, Romelu scored. Also, a shout out, I don't know whether he's in your section, Diogo Dalot. I thought was brilliant on the day.
Yeah,
going
Mr. Whippy, mate.
He put in more successful crosses, I think, than I've seen Antonio Valencia do in the last 9 seasons. I don't even know if Valencia's been there 9 seasons. Completely made up statistic, but I'm trying to highlight the fact that Diogo Dalot can cross a ball while Valencia can't.
Yeah, if you're a striker, you're just hitting the 6-yard box every time Diogo Dalot gets the ball, because he's got that lovely technique where he sort of opens up his foot and it just fizzes quite flatly along the 6-yard line. And
good.
Big Rom, you know, should be taking a lot of hope from that hope. Let's move on from Romelu Lukaku onto Juan Mata, because he had a day that he won't forget in a hurry, didn't he? He created 3 key passes, grabbed an assist and scored his 50th Premier League goal, becoming the 5th Spaniard to reach this milestone in the competition. So that's for goals scored after Torres, Silva, Costa and Fabregas. He's also only the 3rd Spaniard to score both 50 and assist 50 in the Premier League too.
Nice guy
Cesc Fabregas and David Silva joining him on that double honours list. Though man of the match has to go to young Marcus Rashford. He's been he's been shouldering a lot of responsibility for Jose's men going forward at this juncture in the season, hasn't he? And it was no different in this game. He took 6 shots, put 4 on target, scored 1 where he caught Rico sleeping at his near post. Very audacious effort. He also completed 3 dribbles and got 2 assists. Now, if it wasn't for Rico, who admittedly made a mistake, it could have been a cricket score, because he made 7 saves, the Spaniard, in this game. A couple of very smart stops. United currently 6th on 26 points, 8 points off the UCL place now. They're closer to 13th place Watford than they are Champions League football. So just need to get their heads down, put together a run, be a little bit more defensively solid and, you know, hope for the best. Yeesh.
Final loser came from Saeed Bousad, and it had to be it's Boca Juniors, Hamill.
Yeah, let's wrap this up quickly because we thought it was a game that would never end, didn't we? But it finally did. River taking the Copa Libertadores thanks to the genius of Juan Quintero, Colombia's finest. We saw him put in a few star turns at the World Cup, didn't we? Now, the scene was sort of set, underwhelmingly so. No one really happy it was being staged in Spain, but they had the chance, didn't they? And the fans ruined it. So they played in front of a packed out Bernabeu. A lot of star players were there, Leo Messi in the crowd. So redemption, I guess, for these players who maybe felt that it was robbed from them, this final. Now the first 20 minutes, pretty drab actually. It took until that minute for both teams to even register a shot on goal. Some drama eventually unfurling on the stroke of half time, with Benedetto opening the goal scoring following a beautiful counter-attack. Boca were actually under a large amount of pressure then. River really pressing them. There was a few hairy moments in the Boca defence, but they broke centrally down the pitch, and the pass for Benedetto was defence splitting beautiful, and he took it really well. He's subsequently become the first player, and will be the last when they change this to just one fixture, to score in both legs of the Libertadores final. So maybe he'll feel a little bit aggrieved, about being on the losing side. Now that goal also made him the first player to score in all the semi-final and final matches since 1990. So alluding to what I said even further, quality celebration, but it's come back to haunt him now, hasn't it?
I mean, proper house celebration, tongue in the face of the opposition.
So
bit awkward though.
A bit premature that, Benedetto.
You did go on to lose. But River obviously got back level through Prato, and then they went on to dominate really after that red card from Wilmar Barrios, which was slightly debatable, a second yellow card for a 50-50. It did look like he kind of went in a little bit over the ball though, so you can argue it was rightful. If you thought it was a red card, let us know in the poll up there. And then River dominated, 67% possession from there, and Quintero, that substitution was really the game changer. You mentioned it there. What a finish in off the bar that was. I mean, we all saw what he was capable of at the World Cup, and it's just odd that he's kind of been passed around Europe, isn't he? And then ended up over there.
It would seem, at least ostensibly, that maybe the way he maintains his body has something to do with it. Looks a little bit short of fitness, because ability-wise, there's no reason he shouldn't be in that River side. Of course, he's been on Porto's books for a long time, and they've sent him out on a relentless amount of loans. So, yeah, I mean, if they saw something in him or thought he was the complete package, there's no reason he wouldn't be bossing it in Liga NOS either. So he needs to get his act together now. What is he, 25, 26? Don't want to see his career just peter out and have those few highs. High highs.
I mean, this was definitely a high though, our Copa Libertadores win, and the game was wrapped up, wasn't it, when the Boca keeper went forward and River broke and scored into an empty net in the last few seconds to wrap up their fourth Copa Libertadores title. Only Independiente, Peñarol and Boca have one more, but it's not necessarily over, because Boca seem like they will appeal to the Court of Arbitration after they claim they should have been awarded the trophy in the first place because it was River Plate fan violence that got the game postponed. So this might not be over just yet.
Oh God, it really is the game that never ends.
I kind of just hope it is, to be totally honest, because the fan violence it's just annoyed me.
It's marred the occasion, hasn't it?
It's kind of getting boring now. They've won it. Let's just move on from the whole situation and let them compete in the Super Cup, is it? No, they can compete in the World Club Cup, whatever it's called, that rubbish tournament. But congratulations, River. Finally won the final to end all finals. So that's it for this episode of Winners and Losers. But do join us over on Euro Football Daily for Euro Roundup, where we'll be covering
Barcelona. We'll be covering potentially Juventus and Inter Milan, and also the comeback of Gulam. So
that's the Napoli.
You seem a little bit underwhelmed by that. He's been out for that.
I mean, I'm not buzzing.
Ages. But brilliant left back.
Bye.
Just swap that badge out. It becomes a Euro Football Daily set. So.